Yo, welcome everybody. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing.
Well, TCR TJ is the Season 13 Golden Class Champion for Trinity Competitive Racing.
Oh, let's go, dude! Yes!
Jabbar on the podium! He's on it by a 10! Gentlemen, side by side through one.
And silent, and Seafreeze gets a half spin.
Let's fucking go!
Wheel bumping.
DRS enable, let's do it.
And Captain Blade battling it out for position. Captain Blade.
Ickle, what the?
Then McChicken goes around and he also makes
Rewind down the front straight. Oh my god.
I gotta check the heart rate.
Why do we do this? Because of nights like this.
Yo, welcome everybody to TCR Trinity Competitive Racing, and welcome to episode number 27, as I do believe, of the Racing Debrief, TCR's podcast, where we combine the world of e-racing, sim racing, and TCR with real-life motorsports and Formula One. A true racing enthusiast listen. It's your usual hosts, and I guess a welcome back, because we haven't seen one of them in a very long time. It is myself, Seafreeze, as always, alongside Camden Luca, and a welcome back for D'Angelo, and I guess a little bit of a welcome back to another episode, because it's been a couple weeks. So, yeah, the band is back together. Hello.
It is, yeah.
Is it? Or maybe not.
It is.
We had a broken
band.
band.
Is here. No, we're back, ready to rumble. We have a lot to talk about, so it's going to be exciting.
Get it started. Let's get this shit going.
Yeah, it's a little bit, we got a little bit all over today. A lot of stuff to catch up on, but we're recording on June 4th, 2023, and yeah, let's get into it. So, last week was Memorial Day weekend, a huge day for racing, huge day for motorsport. One of the races got delayed, which was the Coke 600 for NASCAR, and I just wanted to briefly touch on a few topics and discussions about the weekend, not necessarily the in-depths of each race, because at this point I don't really remember what happened, and I'm sure a lot of you guys listening, if you're listening at this point, or even watched the race, or, well, you should have watched at least one of them. And probably don't even care about the ins and outs of the race, but the one that mainly every year, that weekend for me has always been one to circle. And I know, Camden, it was one that you circled as well, and you said that you weren't moving all day. And I remember you were saying that you were going to order food through Uber Eats for the NASCAR race, and I don't know if you ordered it because it got canceled, the race. So did you order your Uber Eats, or did you postpone it to that Monday?
Well, let's correct things here. It was DoorDash.
Oh,
it was not Uber Eats.
Bubba Wallace,
yeah, I'm a DoorDash guy. Yeah. So no, I actually waited until Monday for the two NASCAR races to do that. So, NASCAR getting rained out also delayed my DoorDash experiences, so that kind of sucked. But, it's one of my favorite days of the year. Just sitting down and watching all three races, three different motorsports, and three of their biggest races. Monaco for F1's their biggest race, Indy 500 for IndyCar. Coke 600 isn't necessarily NASCAR's biggest race, but it's definitely a crown jewel, so it doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was definitely in tune. I know I watched Monaco in bed, and then we watched the Indy race together on in a call, and then we were going to watch the NASCAR, but we actually watched glimpses of it on the Monday when it got rained out, which actually worked better. Because we were able to spread the racing out to 2 days, because I didn't do anything on Memorial Day besides watching the NASCAR race. But how about you, D'Angelo? What did you watch, if any? And is that a weekend you circle?
Yeah, it's definitely a weekend I circled. This year, it was kind of unfortunate. I was able to watch Monaco in the morning at one of my good buddies' house, who's in as much F1 as me, and then I had to work during the Indy 500, but I tried to watch as much as I can, just like in breaks that I could, and when the stream would actually load for the Indy 500. And then I, kind of the same deal on Monday, had to work on Monday, because I work at Walmart, so couldn't really watch the Coke 600 either, which was very unfortunate.
All right. Well, at least you got one of them. Yeah, I think for others, I don't know. When I watch the F1 races, I usually look in the Discord for other drivers' opinions and such, and some people aren't in love with Monaco. I didn't actually see too much hype around the weekend, even for the Indy race, up until just the end of the race. So it was definitely a different vibe. At least maybe people were watching. I know some people went to the Indy 500 race. A lot of drivers that are in the TCR go to those races because they live in the area, and if you live in the area, they black it out, so you can't even watch it on TV. So you actually have to kind of go to it. So then I think all in all was good. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about Monaco with a few topics I wanted to kind of touch on. Firstly, when it comes to Monaco, and if you're a Formula One fan,
oh boy, here we go.
If you don't watch the Saturday qualifying, you should leave the sport. Because the qualifying for Monaco is, number one, the most exciting qualifying probably of the entire year, and it's probably the qualifying that means the most. Obviously, the track position, most people who get pole win the race, or at least second. You want to be at the front row, but mostly first. And yes, it is only qualifying, but the qualifying format, or the qualifying session we saw for last week at Monaco, was one of the closest qualifyings. Like, I don't think anyone really knew who was going to get pole, and up until the last few moments it was Alonso who was on provisional, and Max was down a couple tenths, and he brought out this amazing third sector. And I think the broadcast did, and also the commentators did such a good job of, because this year, I don't know if everyone knows, but the F1 actually has control of the broadcast now for Monaco. In previous years, they didn't. So it would be kind of like Monaco locals, or there would be someone else would be in charge of broadcasting the Monaco race, and that's how you got that Lance Stroll meme that a couple years ago when there was an overtake, I think by Vettel on Gasly coming out of the pit lane, and then they went to a cut scene of Lance Stroll clipping the wall. I'm sure a lot of people know that one. That's probably the most famous thing from Lance Stroll, is that meme cut scene. But this year I thought they broadcasted it pretty well, and the broadcasters, commentators, Brundle and Crofty and everyone else did a good job of showing that excitement in the qualifying session and making that third sector by Max like the greatest thing we've ever seen hit Earth, which I thought was really cool, and it was so exciting to watch. And I'm just saying, if you don't watch the qualifying for Monaco, you shouldn't even watch the race, because
I agree.
You have to watch the entire weekend of Monaco, just the entire excitement all the way through. Like Indy 500 has the speed weeks, the bump, all this stuff, pretty much a month leading up to the race, and I know there's a lot of storylines throughout that all. Monaco is, the weekend, but you have to watch that qualifying.
I agree, and I think that's what makes Monaco great. because it's so different from any other track, because it's so hard to pass, and that's why it's gotten a lot of criticism, because it's almost impossible to go side by side at that track. But I think it takes a lot of skill, especially nowadays, to be able to do a qualifying lap around there and be as flawless as Max Verstappen was in that third sector. I think there's a lot of precision that's involved in coming just inches away from each wall. I believe Nelson Piquet Jr. once said that driving around Monaco is like riding a bike around your living room. And I think with how big these cars have become, that is definitely the case. So I'm sure we'll get into the discussion here, but Monaco's fine. Maybe there's a couple things that could be changed, but this is what makes it unique. The fact that we have all this build-up leading to the race, just like the Indy 500 and just like the Daytona 500 for NASCAR.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. I think the qualifying makes it the crown jewel, especially now, considering the cars are like 3 times wider than what they were in 2016 and everything. They're just like, they kind of did that, I feel like, on purpose to like show the true skill on a tight street circuit like Monaco, and how you have, because people say all the time, like in some motorsports, it's like, qualifying isn't everything, but in Monaco, in that one weekend, qualifying is more times than not everything. So
yeah, well, that's actually one thing that I think that F1 needs to change and kind of revert back to, is they made these cars massive, and the reason why is because if you look at 2016 to 2017, even the width in the tire was huge. I remember, in that time period, seeing how much bigger the tires were and then wider the cars were, and that means they're going around the track quicker because they have more grip, they have more downforce, they're just a bigger car, they have more aero. They're going to be quicker, and that was cool. But then we figured out, the quicker you get, the more dirty air and more disturbed air you get, harder to follow, harder to overtake, and you have bigger gaps. Then that's when they kind of reverted it. Like, I think 2020 was really the quickest car we've got. Then 21 kind of was there about, and then slowed down, and then obviously with this newer ground effect car, they've gotten slower, but they still need to get smaller, and if they get smaller, then it would definitely help at Monaco. But not only Monaco, but it would help, I think, at a lot of different racetracks, because you wouldn't be going as quick, but you would have more room on the racetrack to, try to make an overtake.
it would definitely help at tracks like definitely more of the street circuits like Singapore, even Hungary as an autodrome, because it gets so tight in that second sector in the middle part there that it would help there. Parts of Baku would help a little bit, like the middle sector in Baku with the castle section, because you kind of have to go single file through there now. And then, oh god, what else? There's like one more. Kinda Australia, I would say, in the first sector. That'd be like the only other one.
Yeah, I think I think it would hurt, those higher speed tracks like maybe Britain or Spa or Coda, going through like the S section portions. You're going to be going slower, there's be less grip if you make the cars narrower and shorter in width and length, but you'll also be able to follow a lot easier, but it'll be slower speed, so they won't be as quick. But it really depends what F1 wants to do, but it definitely would help for Monaco. Now my assumption, like, I've always enjoyed Monaco, and I know we always bring this talk up. I've always enjoyed it. I think people just always hate it because it's either a boring race or there's no overtaking. Now, I don't know. I know we're going to get to Spain a little later on. Personally, just as a quick comparison, for me, like, I didn't I think I might have fell asleep in a few portions of Spain today. There was a lot of overtakes, a lot of battles throughout the midfield, but the race was still really boring because Max was just out front leading. And honestly, if you ask me in a few weeks, months, or even years' time what happened here at Spain today, I would have pretty much no idea. I would say Max probably won it. That's probably what would happen. But for Monaco, you actually remember like the great moments of certain years, right? When like that year with Daniel Ricciardo, the tires, they didn't have the tires ready, or when Vettel and Kimi, when Vettel won at Ferrari through the pit stop phase. Hamilton Verstappen had some close battles through the chicane. I think you can even Perez, winning it. So like there are moments that are more iconic, even though it might not have been a exciting race. Like you kind of get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Honestly, though, like this past Monaco race wasn't even that bad because the weather came into play, and that really kind of spiced things up a little bit. And especially at a track like Monaco, when you have weather come into play and the tires are changing, we saw a lot of drivers have difficulties, including Max.
New surface that just got put in a year or two ago.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Max had a couple of small issues where he almost hit the wall during that whole sequence of weather, so I think it was okay.
Well, I think that just brings the interest, just the level of interest a little bit more because there's rain, the possibility of something happening, right? It still gauges your attention a little bit. I think a lot of people were still upset that Max won it last week. I think if a different winner would have happened, they were like, "Oh, that was such a good race." But they're just looking at the winner. But like the race itself, there was actually some overtaking. There was some bumping in towards with Perez and Stroll. They were hitting a lot of things. I remember, but the rain definitely did help the race. So I wasn't completely bored out of it. And for a Monaco race, I thought, hey, that's pretty good.
Going back to the Spain thing, though, I think the problem with Spain's like overtaking is, and why people say it's always boring, which I agree with, is that the overtakes are just so easy. Like, because 90% of them happen on the main straight that's like a mile long, and they're just. It's kind of the same with Baku. It the same way. It's just because like the straight is so long, and the entire length of it is a DRS zone. Yeah. So it's just really easy to just go up the inside, cover it off into turn one, and then boom, you have the position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be said at a lot of tracks. I think that's just kind of what road course racing is, although there's some tracks that do a better job where you can kind of seek a battle out through multiple corners. Like if you look at Circuit of the Americas, the third sector, like after turn 12, that whole section, we've seen a lot of side-by-side battles, and you could actually overtake in the corners. So the DRS through the back straight at Coda sets you side by side, and then drivers are able to keep along side by side, switchbacks and other momentum and traction, a lot of things you could do. And I think that is more of what tracks people like to see, is side by side racing, not DRS passing or just following behind at the small streets of Monaco. But I understand why Monaco's still on the schedule. There's been talks almost every year or every time they have a contract negotiation of, when is it going to be brought off the schedule? Yeah, there was even talks about funding. I believe that it could still be on the schedule, but I understand why it's really not needed at this point as well, and I'll tell you why. For many years, Monaco used to be almost like the sport's biggest race. You look at Indy, IndyCar, it's the Indy 500. NASCAR's Daytona 500. Endurance, you have the Le Mans race, even the 24-hour at Daytona. There's a lot of different races that are iconic. Monaco, for most of the time, had a bigger spotlight on it than ever before. They've had, the most celebrities show up to it, the most press, the most, the top of the sport. Everybody was there for Monaco. And it was even considered, and it still is, into the Triple Crown, which is obviously Monaco, Indy 500, and the Le Mans 24, as races to win. But nowadays for Formula One, I'm pretty sure every other race almost beats out Monaco. Like if you look at a couple weeks ago, Miami looked like a much bigger event than what Monaco had. Like there's got to be so many more people at Miami race than at Monaco. Like there was huge grandstands at Miami. When we go to Circuit of the Americas or even Silverstone, you're going to have huge amounts of people. Australia is another big one. Monza. These Grand Prix are like almost every week that F1 goes to a track, they're bringing it to a spectacle level. And Monaco is not like a spectacle level anymore. I think it's actually kind of almost forgotten now because people don't like the racing. They don't care for the history because the history was way back when. And this generation, especially a lot of the younger generation and the American audience that's coming in, wants excitement, wants competition. And I don't think Monaco really satisfies that. I don't think they really care about the history, the boring racing, which there's really no racing. And so I think there is a case that says, well, maybe we could take it off the calendar, or maybe it comes on every few years, but not every single year.
Yeah, well, this is what is kind of worrying me about the future of Formula One. I'm really starting to worry that it's just going to become like NASCAR. You have a lot of that audience, that American audience, coming over the Formula One with the expectations of every race is going to be a thriller, there's going to be a safety car restart with 2 laps to go, there's going to be, a flip in the race, there's going to be, a tempers. Like, no, like that's not Formula One, that's not what the sport is based off of. The sport is based off of competition and being able to display your skill. Going back to what we said before, I think Monaco has become more about the race weekend rather than the race. The build-up from the practices to the qualifying to set yourself up for the main race. I don't think every race should be the same, where it's high speeds and, side-by-side racing. If that means we have one track on the schedule that's a little more boring than the others, that's fine. But I don't think you should just erase every little bit of history if it doesn't accommodate for the 15-year-old fans that are coming into the sport that have watched nothing but NASCAR. I really don't think there's anything wrong with Monaco.
Yeah, but wouldn't you say that yes, the weekend build up to Monaco is special, the qualifying is special, but wouldn't you say the atmosphere at other tracks is maybe equal, if not better? Because I don't think Monaco is the best atmosphere at the track. Like I think of other tracks. I think of the Silverstone at British Grand Prix. I think of Monza, Australia. Coda's actually been a little bit more popular as of nowadays. But I think those races are almost more like, I think when we go to Las Vegas later on this year.
Oh yeah,
that is going to be a spectacle. It makes Monaco look not so spectacular anymore.
I really think the reason for that is because of how small the Principality of Monaco is. You can't really, because literally everywhere F1 goes, the circus goes, it is a gigantic ass party for 3 days.
It is a circus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it is a
You're right.
giant ass party for 3 days, And really, Monaco, you can't do that because there's not enough room.
Yeah, well, how many people you think actually go to like Monaco in attendance-wise? Because I feel like every race weekend you go to like the other tracks and they'll show the weekend attendance. Like today for Spain, it was like 200 and something, 230. I don't really know quite, but that's the weekend attendance. So I don't know if that means how many people have been there throughout the entire weekend, but not the day of. But they didn't show that at Monaco. The 200, a quarter of a million people aren't fitting at Monaco.
No, there's not enough stands, but also the 200,000. That's a lot of those too. Is also a lot of the 200,000 buy weekend passes anyway. So
yeah, but I mean there are a lot of people in the hotels or the suites off. In Monaco, but those really don't count because you don't need a pass for that. I don't think. If you live there, you live there, right?
Yeah.
But that's my point. I think other tracks have such more of a spectacular look. You look at Las Vegas, what we're going to see later this year. I cannot wait for it, and it's going to be huge. And that blows Monaco right out of the water. So here's the question: should it stay on the calendar? For F1, should it get every few years? Should it stay forever? Should it get replaced forever? And if yes or no, regardless of what your answer is, what track should replace Monaco as far as F1's biggest race, or also into the Triple Crown? Like if Monaco gets off the schedule, it never returns tomorrow or next year. What track is replacing it in the Triple Crown? What would you pick?
Well, Seafreeze, can I answer your question with a question?
I have a bunch of questions. I just asked like 5 questions, so
okay.
Yes, go ahead.
So, say that Monaco were to be taken off the schedule. Right. What track out there, it could be any track, what track do you think should replace Monaco?
Throwing the question on you now.
Are you saying what track should be replaced on the calendar just to add in another calendar? Or are you talking about like what track should be considered in like the Triple Crown?
I'm saying what track should replace Monaco? Because if we're just going to take it off the schedule just to take it off, then I don't see a point in doing that. Because we're trying to take it off to get something better, right?
Right, okay, so I know what you mean. I think if you were just going to take it off and put a different track, I mean, personally, I would love to see Germany, Hockenheim back.
Why?
Why? I think you need a race in Germany. I think it's a big hardcore fan base there. I think you have a much bigger sellout at Germany. I think the track is loved by a lot of motorsport fans, and to this day that we still don't have a German Grand Prix. I don't know how many. We only have Hulkenberg as a German driver, right? But as of right now. But
you could throw it. You can either have it at Hockenheim or you can have it at the Nürburgring. It doesn't matter. It's gonna sell tickets.
Either one would be fine. Hockenheim would be, I think, is a little bit more well liked. So I would do that. I think there's others as well. I think if they're looking at different markets, I mean, I think as a spectacle, I know a lot of people want to go back to Malaysia, but I don't think the spectacle attendance fan base there is as good as Monaco. I think Germany you could sell a lot of tickets. It'd be good. It'd be a good race. I think. At this point, F1 is looking at a lot of different markets. How many races we have? 23, 22. I don't know with the cancellation of Imola what we have now, but they're looking to get to 25 and more. So
as soon as possible, it seems.
They're looking to get one in South Africa. They're looking another second one in Spain. They're looking at all these different markets, because if you could bring this crazy circus to more bigger cities and bigger attendance, then you're going to do that. So
right.
I don't think you have to take it off the schedule to get Hockenheim or another track, because they're trying to expand the schedule already. So I don't think you need to take one off to put one on. Like, I think they still want to just add.
Right. And so to answer the question of what race would replace Monaco during Memorial Day weekend, it would have to be a European track, right? Because if we're going based off of the schedule, the Indy 500's in the afternoon and the Coke 600's at night. So you have to have something that is in Europe, exactly. So I think a track like Great Britain would be good, just because it's kind of as historical and it has some meaning to it. They shouldn't add some random track like Imola and make it, part of Memorial Day weekend. It would have to be a historic track like either Britain or even Belgium, honestly, like one of those two tracks.
I would 100% agree. I would say, I think
Really good because of the speed.
Wait, hold up. Let me just make sure. I think I stopped recording, but then I recorded again. Wait, hold up. Alright, I think.
How long ago?
No, just literally right now. I hit the button
Okay.
by accident. Alright, we're good. Welcome back, everybody. We're on the podcast here. No, but I totally agree with the British Grand Prix. I think the British Grand Prix is like the central hub of Formula One, because like I feel like the British fans take it the most serious, and it's the most popular as well. And I think that track is amazing. The history there is amazing. The attendance you get there is amazing. It really is a spectacle. And I know we usually run that in July-ish, June, July. I don't know if you could run it that early with the weather, but if you would replace Monaco with the British Grand Prix on that weekend, to have the Coke 600, Indy 500, and the British Grand Prix, I think would still work really well. I don't think you would turn it into something else. A Spa would work as well. If it were to come off the calendar, I'd probably replace, like, what would the Triple Crown look like? Would you put I would put the British Grand Prix in it, or maybe is that the end of the Triple Crown? Do they not have that anymore? Because it was always considered for F1 that you either. Some people claim you just need the Monaco GP. Some people also say that if you're a champion, you're fine. But to put a race on it, I would probably put the British Grand Prix. I don't think any other track would make sense. Right? What other track?
Yeah.
Trying to think.
Like, the British fan base is probably your biggest fan base, I would think.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if there's any other European country bigger population-wise than the British fan base. So I would say that would replace Monaco in the Triple Crown and the Memorial Day weekend if that were to happen. Now, I don't know the logistics of it, because in Britain it does rain quite a lot.
A lot.
Especially if you do it in May, at the end of May. I don't know, but hey, that's what I would do in a perfect world. I would do that. The other thing I was going through, last thing on Monaco for me, is if it does stay on the calendar, which I wouldn't be opposed to that happening, but I would want to try and improve it. I know we mentioned we should kind of make the cars a little bit smaller. I think in general that would work better for Formula One all around. But what specific things would you change for Monaco? Track-wise, format-wise? I was thinking of some track layouts. I know a lot of people on social media like to put on different formats that are just absurd and unrealistic, just to get a different layout. I have a very simple fix. Not a fix that we're gonna have a bunch of overtaking C-frames. Oh, look at this. But I think
Get rid of the chicane.
I think you could. Well, that is one. Out of the tunnel, you can get rid of that chicane. It would be a pretty big entrance speed towards to back. But my biggest one, and I don't even know why they haven't changed anything. It's been the same track for how many years? They haven't even tweaked anything or wanted to tweak anything. It's been the same thing. It's been the same
most
thing.
they tweaked are the curb heights.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we can't get rid of this sidewalk here to make it a little bit more like just a couple inches here on the sidewalk might do us good, you know. My thing that I would change is I would get rid of the last corner. And I would, you know how like you go through Rascasse, you have the pit lane on the right, and then you have this like awkward corner that slingshots you back out onto the front stretch, start finish line. I'd like to see that almost gone, to where once you go through Rascasse and you're exiting that corner, it's the straightaway. If you open up that last corner, and I think it is logistically allowed, like I think you could actually do this. You'd have to, I guess, trim away some of that apex curb or the exit there, but not trying to make it such an awkward exit, because they get such a Constantine effect out of there, and you really can't make any moves into turn 1. So I think if you open that up, when you exit out of Rascasse and you get on the throttle, that should be the straightaway. You should just go a nice flow, straighten that out, just right under the straightaway. You would have a bigger effect on DRS. You'd have a longer straightaway, longer effect as well. You'd be a higher miles per hour down towards turn 1. A bigger braking zone as well. And you might actually see some overtakes into turn 1. Or, if not, they'll be able to at least follow closely up the hill all the way to Casino. That's what I would do first. I would keep the chicane, actually. But that's what I would do. I would see if you could make that straight out of the final corner. I think it would just be a better flow, because the final corner isn't doing much for me.
Wow. I didn't even think about that, Seafreeze. And it makes sense, because I feel like that's honestly maybe the tightest corner on the entire track. Like, it's literally impossible to go side by side through there. And I know it's hard to go side by side on the whole track, but that corner, it's literally almost impossible to make it work. So, yeah, I would take that corner out. I would also make the little straightaway after turn 1, I would straighten that out to where it's a like 100% straightaway, because you know how you go up the hill.
Yeah, because it's the way it goes up the hill to the Beau Rivage.
It could be done though. I mean, but they would have to. If you look at the that's just how the street is and the sidewalk, and that's just kind of like what the road is. But they could probably somewhat.
It would be difficult. Like if they would have to get rid of that sidewalk and just put the barrier on the other side of the sidewalk.
Well, I mean, like you guys said, like they haven't really done anything to the track in the past 90 years, so I don't see why it would be an issue to not straighten that out a little bit more. It just seems a little unnecessary, you know, to have it be that windy. Like, we already have swimming pool, which is a windy section, you know, that can be the windy section of the track. But I think if you open up that straightaway after turn 1 and maybe even make it a DRS area, that can also help with the overtaking.
Yeah, I'd agree. If you're able to do that, I think so. I'd have to look back at the track map and actually see if what I proposed could actually be done. But I think it is. You just kind of have to straighten it out, and there's really no risk safety-wise there either, because you're just making it more of a straight or a corner or a final corner where it's flat, rather than you don't have to brake at all. If you just open that whole thing up, I mean, I think it would just be a better flow. I don't know if you get better racing, but I mean, you definitely be able to follow easier, because the Rascasse corner is quite slow. But that's a good suggestion too. I was trying to straighten those those corners up, because what you could do when you go up there, up the hill, out of turn 1, is if you're the driver ahead, you just stay in the middle of the track, and then nobody can overtake you, because if you go to the inside, the room will eventually get squeezed out because of the wall that's curving, and then if you try to overtake on the outside, the same thing happens. So if you just stick right in the middle of the track, then nobody can overtake you, and that's what most of the cars do. So, but that's what I would do. I've seen some crazy, I don't know if you guys have, but on social media, like, people are, like, once you get up towards almost the tunnel, after the hairpin, there's like an extra street that you can turn left on, and then you can go down all the way, a weird thing, do a hairpin, then go back down, and that whole tunnel straight would be a much bigger straightaway. But that is like, you know, way out of, just completely different. But anywho, I feel like they have to do something, but they haven't done anything. But that's that. All right, let's move on to the Indy 500 race. The only thing I really wanted to mention that is, as always, every year is very exciting. Battles all throughout. Big atmosphere, 300,000 plus people. You talk about a spectacle. I mean, Indy does it really good.
No kidding.
Man. And firstly, as far as races to attend, and we were kind of talking about this, but before the podcast, but the Indy 500 is probably one that every motorsport fan should have on their list to attend at least once. It's on my list. I will definitely be there someday, because it would be epic. It has to be on your guys' list, but what other races stick out to ones you would want to 100% attend, either for you or just in general for motorsport fans?
You can go first, Camden.
Okay. So, as a lifelong NASCAR fan, Daytona is definitely towards the top of the bucket list. To see the Daytona 500 in person, you got to get tickets early, though, because that race always sells out pretty early. So, it's definitely on the bucket list. Talladega as well for NASCAR. But if I want to expand outside of Formula One and NASCAR, I'm kind of fascinated with Bathurst. I really would like to go and check out the V8 supercars and go down and see the 12 hours of Bathurst. That's just something that's kind of been on my bucket list as of late. And that's kind of an area of racing that I've fiddled with a little bit, but I haven't really gotten into it all. So I would say, yeah, a little bit of NASCAR, a little bit of F1. Monaco's up there. Probably some American F1 track, or maybe Montreal, just because Montreal is close to me. And then, yeah, Bathurst for the 12 hours.
And then about the Talladega, just come on now, dude. Just come on. I've been to Talladega
You're
plenty
close,
of times.
aren't you? You've gone a bunch of times.
Yeah, I used to go every year till I was about 12 or 13, I think. At least once, like one of the races. But yeah, I would also like to go to Talladega. I'm not even the biggest NASCAR guy anymore, but not Talladega, Daytona. But I would love to go even the night race in Daytona in the summer. That would just, like, I love night races, and I've never been to one. So, also another one for NASCAR would be Bristol. Bristol sounds really fun.
I've been there. You definitely want to go to that one. It's fantastic.
My parents went, like, before I was born, and they said it was really fun. And also, the Daytona 24-hour, too. The Rolex 24-hour. I would like to go to that, too. Yes, and obviously, the Indy 500, Monaco is on there. 24 hours of Le Mans on there for me as well. I feel like I want to stay in the hotel at Le Mans. I think that would be really cool.
Money, money, money.
Oh, yeah. Also, another IndyCar one would be like the Laguna Seca. Laguna Seca would be really fun.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. I think for me, the ones that stick out is I definitely want to go to the Daytona 500, the Indy 500. As far as F1 races, I would love to go to Monaco. Others as well. I mean, I would personally. There's a bunch of NASCAR tracks I'd like to go to. Ones you've mentioned for sure. And F1, really any tracks. The endurance ones are interesting because it's a 24-hour race, so I don't think the excitement around those races are as good as what the 500s are for Indy and NASCAR. I think for like the 24-hour Le Mans or even the Daytona are fun. They're cool to watch, but I don't know if I'd really want to I'd have to go to it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It'd be cool to go, but I don't know if it's on my list. If it's as crazy as that sounds, because I don't know. It's maybe towards the end or the beginning, but then the 22 hours in between, I'll be sleeping. Yeah. What other? Yeah, I think those are about it. I don't know what any other. Coke 600 would be cool.
I forgot about that one.
Since we're mentioning it. Ooh, Japan would be cool. Britain. A lot of F1 tracks. I'd like to go to almost all of them if I could.
I agree.
So
yeah.
I like to go to a lot of NASCAR tracks too. So there's really nothing that I wouldn't say no to if it's a track. And
come on down to Alabama. We go to Talladega one day.
Let's make it happen.
So the big thing from Indy 500 race was that I took away was the ending. But before we get to that is that big wreck that happened and that tire flew over the stands and luckily missed the big grandstand. And what corner was that? Turn 3?
3 and 4, yeah.
3 and 4. So
Pretty sure it was turn 2.
Was it?
Yeah, it was turn 2.
Turn
Well,
2.
Is it? I don't understand. Is there considered 8 turns, or is it still considered 4?
No, there's 4 turns, because every turn is like a half turn. Because Indy's not like an oval, it's more of a rectangle.
Yeah, I knew it was a rectangle, but I was just I didn't know. I don't remember if they just considered it 4 or like 8 total.
Yeah, because like if you go to a NASCAR oval, Charlotte is 4 turns, but there's really only 2, in my opinion.
That's what I was saying. Like,
you go into turn 1 and you turn. You keep turning. It's one continuous turn. It's a 180-degree turn. It's one turn. Where do you get 2 from?
I was like, huh?
So like whenever you go into turns 1, the announcers always say, "Oh, we're going into turns 1 and 2. Now into 3 and 4." What do you mean and 4? It should just be 1 and 2. But I guess it makes sense. But yeah. Anywho, whoa, that was crazy. Me and Camden were watching it, and your broadcast was a couple seconds ahead, and we thought we were lined up, and you were oohing and oohing, and you were screaming, and I was like, "Oh, come on, Camden, there's nothing happening. What? Come on. I thought you were teasing me." Then I saw the wreck, and I was like, "Oh." And then I saw a worse happen, and it was like, ah, and ooh, ah. And then I saw the tire. It went over the fence. I was like, ooh, man, that's crazy. And, yeah. I was like, man, that could have been pretty serious. Like, you never know when you go on these races. Especially in the corners of Indy, you're going head on if something like that happens. I mean, wow. That really could have ended badly.
It could have, yeah, and I think it puts it into perspective of like, we have all the safety and technology, but we could definitely have a disastrous wreck happen where it kills either a driver or a fan. That's just the reality. I thought the tire went into the stands when I saw it happen first. That's why I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, like a tire just went into the stands. This is the end of the Indy 500. They're never going to do this again. But luckily it missed the stands by, 30 feet or whatever. Which is weird though, because you don't normally see the tires come off of the cars, because usually they're attached pretty well, but that was one of those rare instances where something failed or something
Actually,
broke.
that is false information. They actually, for IndyCar this year, they removed the thread from the tires to the axle that keeps the tires on there when they get dislodged.
You mean the tether?
Why?
A tether. They got rid of the tether.
Why?
Don't ask me. That's all. I literally read that before the race last week.
Are they trying to kill people?
Apparently.
Oh my god.
That is
Wow.
crazy.
I
know
guarantee
F1
you
has
next
the
year.
tethers.
Yeah, it's like I guarantee you next year they're putting that shit back on.
They
At
better.
least for Indy. I mean, or ovals at least. Road courses, alright, fine, take it off. But the ovals, I think you would want them. Because when you crash at an oval, you're going right up into the fence. Because most of the ovals they go to, which there's not many as much as they used to be.
It's like 5, I think, total now.
Or even
4 or 5.
less. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all
The ones
baked.
I can think. Yeah, the ones I can think of is Texas and Indy off the top of my head.
I think that's really it, to be honest with you, right nowadays.
Let me find
Las
out.
Vegas, I don't know if they go there anymore. Or Phoenix, they don't go to Phoenix anymore, I don't think. But you could do a little quick Google with that. But when you crash at an oval, your car's going right up to the wall because you're banked. So
Nashville.
Nashville, yeah.
I think it's the only other one. Texas, Indy, Nashville.
There used to be so many, and that's what made the schedule really good. But now it's more into road courses. I wish they went back to more ovals, but it's dangerous because
They're
for the
trying to compete
fans
with
and-
F1.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, it's a good road course product. I'd like them to do more oval, because if you go oval and road course, you're kind of combining NASCAR and F1. Because
It might be dangerous,
Get
but I
both.
want to see him at like Daytona.
God.
now you're
No.
asking to kill.
You're asking to kill everybody.
The speed though would be awesome.
They'd be going 280 in the slipstream, in the bump draft. Change their wings and put like a little bit more of a bumper to it. Yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, they got to watch out. For sure, it's always a dangerous one. They were really quick in quali this year in 243. I think I saw a top maximum, which probably isn't even the maximum speed from quali for Indy. But then there was some controversy at the end of the race. I don't know if D'Angelo, I don't know if you said you watched it.
Oh, I definitely saw it.
Oh, you did. All right, so
I saw that.
there was a wreck. I forget by who. In normal situation, it should have been a caution, and it probably should have ended under caution. But for the spectacle of the race and the 300,000 fans that I guess you didn't want them to riot and get onto the field, start climbing the fence with some pitchforks, they said, we'll put the red flag out, clean up the debris, and we'll get this thing back going in a proper finish. Okay, cool. They're running out of laps, and they went into the pit lane, and they left the pit lane under green, and then they took the green the next lap, and they had barely any time to warm their tires up. There was one flying lap left to finish the race, only one. It was a less than a lap of a warm-up, and basically cost Marcus Ericsson a second Indy 500 win, and a back-to-back win as well, because he won last year. Because you want to be sitting second when there's one lap left, because you get the slipstream effect, you make the overtake, and you win the race, and that's what Joseph Newgarden did. Penske had a good week, pretty much all throughout Memorial Day weekend, with Blaney getting the Coke 600. But what happens if they wrecked on that one lap and it ended under caution?
Race is over as soon as the
over.
caution comes out.
Right? So
Indy does not have any overtime rules like NASCAR does.
Right. But it's almost like they pulled what F1 did at Australia races ago, where they threw the red flag at the end of the race just to get another restart, when in those situations it was most likely just going to be good enough for a safety car. What are the rules? That's what I want to know. Why can't they just make rules when it comes to, like, let's say under 4 laps to go in a certain situation? If this happens, what happens? Is it an automatic red flag, or is it a yellow? Do we finish under yellow? Do we restart? Do we have one extra lap? In F1 you can't add laps because of the fueling. IndyCar, you could do what NASCAR does, but is what NASCAR does is good? Should there be a limit? I think what NASCAR does actually is like, because it makes sense and it's like the least controversial. I think because
and also the thing
it's
is
the same
too,
every week.
Yeah. Also, the thing is too, the stock cars can take it because it's just an extra beating. Thing is, it's like Indy cars, like F1. They're fragile. How many more laps can they do? Is the thing, especially if it goes like, I don't know, say like 6-7 overtimes.
Like, I'm thinking, like, if you get to 3 laps to go, anything 3 and under, and a caution comes out, like in F1, or let's say in F1 world, you really couldn't do anything, because if something comes out in the last 3 laps, it's not even enough laps to throw a red flag and restart the race, because you have to count the in lap to the pits, the reconnaissance lap, like all those extra laps that aren't under green count because of the fuel load. So any extra lap you do to warm up, to get ready, and that's what happened at Australia, it counts. So there's really no way to finish the race but under yellow once it gets under like 3 to go.
You know what?
There's really no way to go about it.
I just thought of something, Seafreeze. So, do you remember halfway through the Indy 500 when Pato O'Ward was leading the race and he was coming to the green flag, but they called off the restart because he was going too slow? Why didn't Marcus Ericsson just do that when he was coming to the final lap? Because all they did to Pato O'Ward was give him a warning. So what's preventing them from, like, giving Marcus Ericsson the same thing? Like, he would just get a warning, right? And the race would end. I don't think that would be fair to give him a penalty when they give Pato O'Ward a warning, you know? Like,
I think the reason, I saw that too, I think the reason they gave him a warning because it was only like halfway through the race and they knew he probably wouldn't win anyway. Especially from that point. But,
well, it wouldn't be consistent, but...
Yeah.
I just think they need to figure something out. And I think it's really just comes down to, like, when you get to a certain lap left in the race, certain amount of laps left in the race, if a crash happens, like, this is the latest we can throw a safety car in order for us to finish the safety car process and get back going. Or this is the latest point we can do a red flag, get our process through a red flag, done, get back going. Either for F1 or IndyCar, but there should be something in the rules that states that, because in a normal race, IndyCar probably would have just thrown the yellow and it would have finished under yellow on a road course at like Alabama or something, or Portland, or wherever they go, and that would be the race. But because it's Indy 500, they threw the red flag just to do one extra lap, which I'm fine with. But it's unprecedented.
I think it cheated Marcus Ericsson out of another win.
Absolutely.
But that's just me.
But in IndyCar, I feel like you can add more laps, like what NASCAR does. But then it's really not an Indy 500.
It's a NASCAR Indy mix.
Like, the Daytona 500 is not Daytona 500. Daytona 500, because if it was a Daytona 500, Kyle Busch would have been your Daytona 500 winner this year. They did a Daytona 500 at 5.
Yeah, literally.
Because of the overtimes. They do a Daytona 515. So, I don't know.
I
Just
feel like
football.
IndyCar, at least at the ovals, needs to have an overtime rule, because at the road courses it'd be kind of difficult, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I just think they need to have something just to clear it up. This way they can go by the rules. But yeah, we'll see. As a fan, I don't really care what happens, but I just like more things to be measured and consistent. And I think most fans are like that. Anyway, there was one more race. Coke 600 was on the Monday. I actually kind of enjoyed it being on the Monday. I don't know ratings wise if it was better or not to have it on the Monday. I'm sure it's better to have it on the Sunday night. Attendance wise, viewership wise, but it was cool having the race on the Monday. But it was a good race. I enjoyed it all. It was an enjoyable race. A lot of stuff happened, but not going to go into the nitty gritty of it. But I will say that I did enjoy it. It was cool racing on that Monday, and yeah, all in all, a good weekend. The tie-in is that next year, Kyle Larson, who arguably could be the best North American driver, maybe in stock car, I would say. I think he's great driver, stock car and dirt. He's going to give his go at the Indy 500 next year, and not only next year, but 2 years in a row. He's signed two years, so I am looking forward to that. I don't know what equipment he is in. Is it through a McLaren? I don't actually. I don't know.
I don't remember because I saw it, but I don't remember.
I don't really know.
That sounds right.
I feel like that
sounds like.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was wondering too, because I think Hendrick is like buddy with McLaren, at least the IndyCar side of McLaren. So
Yeah, well, not only is he going to do the Indy 500, he's doing the double.
He's gonna do both. Yeah,
which
he's
is
doing.
exciting because he was actually there at the Indy race on the Sunday, and I think he still practiced going from Indy to Charlotte on the same day, because he would have had to gone anyway, because he didn't know 100% that the race was going to get rained out, so he still had to get it over there. So I'm sure he did the whole flight thing to go from Indy to Charlotte, and that'll help him for next year. But in this scenario, he would have had extra time to recover because the race this year was on the Monday. But that'll be interesting to see. I think he'll do really well. And no one's done the double since... Was it Kurt Busch?
I saw the thing. I think Tony Stewart has the highest finish in both of them. I think Kurt Busch was the last one to do it, though.
Kurt Busch. I don't think Kurt Busch finished the Charlotte race. I think there was I don't think he finished the race. I think he finished 6th.
All I gotta say though, that is a busy day for you.
1,100 miles. You know, I do that on every Sunday.
Well, on
My dream.
on Monday last week for NASCAR, there were a couple of drivers that did close to 900 miles because they ended up having Xfinity and Cup on the same day. So Justin Haley, I saw, actually broke the record for most NASCAR miles driven in a single day. And I don't think he did 900, I think he did 898. But that's close to doing the whole double of Coke 600 in Indy 500.
That's cool. That's a lot of miles. A lot of miles. I don't care who you are, that you're going to be beat at the end of the day. That's for sure.
Miles. We love miles.
Oh, yeah. Well, anywho, the reason I wanted to talk about a little bit about the Memorial Day weekend and the Triple Crown and these big races is because I had an idea for TCR, and I've had this idea for many seasons, if not years, and never really thought to bring the idea to fruition, although I have mentioned it to a few people here and there. So the Triple Crown obviously includes the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, and the 24-hour Le Mans. 2 of the races are done on the same day. It's kind of weird that the Le Mans is on a different day, or maybe it's just coincidence that they were on the same day, Monaco and Indy. But anywho, TCR is called Trinity Competitive Racing, and for those who don't know, the Trinity in the name, which could also come down to the meaning of 3, was named and created by... I actually didn't name TCR with the Trinity. It was... and he's actually on the Hall of Fame ballot. Both of them are as well, which is Mr. Sensation, and I guess you would pronounce it Juan Nevi. It starts with a J. Juan Nevi 19, and us 3 were the 3 original owners of TCR, and that's kind of where we came from, the Trinity in our name, because it was basically just us 3 who did it, and we were good friends at the time. Probably still are. Haven't
spoken to literally any of them.
It's been a long time.
Terrible friends.
Everybody's doing their own thing. It's been many years. Anywho, I've always thought about, especially now that we have some iconic races in TCR, I wanted to make our own idea. Instead of the Triple Crown, I wanna name it the Trinity Crown, and kind of a replication, or in honor of the Triple Crown. The Trinity Crown would involve some of our biggest races for TCR. And I wanted here, because I know what 2 would be, I don't know what the 3rd race should be, and I'm open to ideas from you two and whoever else is listening, as well as the idea in the whole. But I think for TCR we've done so many cool things, introducing different races, different the Hall of Fame, different statuses.
I know one.
Like being a TCR veteran, champion, all these things. It would definitely include the Monaco Grand Prix. Now for TCR, we don't run the Monaco Grand Prix every season, so I think that would add to it, because it's not as often. It's almost every other season, or every few seasons. It's not every season. It doesn't have to be on the schedule, but I feel like that one, as long as it's on the F1 calendar, will eventually make an appearance on the TCR schedule. So I think that would have to be one of the races. And then, I think you can guess what the other one is the Platinum class, the TCR Grand Prix, which is our own format of a format, our own unique race. It's literally called the TCR Grand Prix, the biggest race you could win in TCR, which is that when you win it, you are now a TCR Grand Prix winner, TCR Grand Prix champion, and that is a status you get in the Discord, and it just holds different prestige winning that race, because it is our own unique format, and that would be another one that you would want to win, I would think. But the 3rd one, I don't know. I don't know what other race in TCR we should put up there.
We're American. COTA.
Yeah, I was thinking you could do COTA. I was thinking you can do... We've done 100% races in the past. We've done sprint weeks. We have an all-star race. We have potential new ideas in the future. We are American, more North American based. Is it COTA? Is it a different idea that we don't have yet? Is it a different format that is yet to be created? I'm not too sure, but this would be kind of my idea, and it would be more so platinum class based, because the TCR Grand Prix is really only in platinum, and Monaco Grand Prix we run in all classes, but to be really considered, you need it to be done in platinum for the top division. So that's my idea. So hate it, love it.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential. I think we kind of already have a plan put in place. Like you said, we have the TCR Grand Prix. That's one crown jewel that we have. We have the Monaco Grand Prix. That's two. And I feel like if we can make a consistent 100% race, and I say consistent as in make sure it's on the schedule every season and make it the finale, not only that, but we make it more points. Okay? I think that third race, a 100% season finale with additional points, I don't want to say double points the way the IndyCar does, right, but it should hold more weight. You should have to go into the finale with more points on the line. That way it keeps the championship alive no matter what, you know? And it's a crown jewel race, you know? It's not like you're going into the finale with a random double points race. You know, it's 100%. So I think if you have those three, then we're going to be off to the races. I think that would be a great plan.
Yeah. I do like that. Adding the extra points would be something I would be up for, because you're going a longer distance, 100% race. It makes sense to tweak it for that race. We already do it for the TCR Grand Prix, not for the actual race, but more so the qualifying format. But that's really what that whole event is surrounded around anyway. Monaco doesn't need any extra points. It's just you survive and you'll get points. And if you survive, you pretty much get double points because everyone else doesn't finish. So you get a bunch off your rivals. That's a good idea. I mean, I've always thought about doing that 100%. I just didn't know if there would be, because we're not doing it this year, although I feel like the game has a lot to do with it. But I mean, the fact to go to that 100% distance, going the endurance route of it, I think makes sense, because you want to get to the end of the race, and we usually do 50%, so it's double, and I think that would make sense. I was thinking about the All-Star race, but the All-Star race is more of a fun event. I don't think people should be wanting to check it off. If anything, the All-Star race is just something extra to add on your resume. But having the 100% a part of the Trinity Crown would work. Yeah, if we have a little bit of a different format, we usually do we usually do short qualifying for 100%. What if we did, shorten the quality to a one shot or something, and then did a 100% race, and a little bit of a different format with the points. It could work. In the finale would also work. And we've done, what did we do? We've done 100% races at COTA before, and we did one at Miami. So even if it is at one of the three, and in a few more years we'll have 5 American races.
Watkins Glen.
We'll have the Glen, we'll have New Jersey, New York, LA.
Going right through town, Times Square.
Oh man. So
that would be a race.
Yeah, I mean, if they went to Times, that would be, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, good idea. Well, so if anyone's still listening from TCR, as we're more on that segment now, let me know your thoughts on the idea and what race, or if not, if we don't have the format right now, what should it be to complete the 3 races? But I think it'd be Monaco, the TCR Grand Prix, and then one more to add it. And I think if someone's able to win all 3, that'd be a pretty good. That'd be pretty good. You know what you're doing. Anywho, just quickly on Spain. I don't want to get into the race. The race was it was good. Different format. I really just want to talk about the format real quick. I honestly slept through the race. I didn't really watch it too much.
I didn't even watch it.
Okay, so I mean, Max won by 30 seconds. Okay, cool. Double podium for Mercedes. Everyone finished the race. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, talk about boring.
Good midfield battles though. The difference in the track layout, I actually quite enjoyed. I think it was. Now, when we did the episode way back on the tier list of the tracks, different race tracks from F1, me and you, we rated it Spain pretty low. We put them in F tier.
Oh, that's putting it mildly.
Yeah, we put them at the bottom. Camden, you put them at B. If you said so.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
I think, and I remember in that episode, if they got rid of the chicane, I would bump my rating up, and I'm here to officially bump the rating up
To a D.
to, I don't know. I actually kind of like the track now. I have to still race it for myself on the new game. I would say a D, trending C. I think one bad, boring race on this layout and these cars is fine, but I thought there was some good battles, and they were able to follow a lot closer. It just looks a lot quicker and quality as well. You don't have to go through a lousy chicane. These cars are meant to go through those corners, so they should go through those two corners that they've gone through all weekend. And I thought it was good. It just looked better. It was a quicker lap as well, so the race went a little bit quicker in that regard. So I would bump it up to definitely a D, but more trending C. We'll see how a few more races here play out, but a well-needed change, one that they should have done many years ago. But I'm happy they finally did it, and I can't actually wait to race it a little bit myself on the new game.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be fun to race it. It really seems like a track that caters to the modern day F1. And it's kind of surprising. I think that, the race today was a little underwhelming, but it wasn't the worst thing in the world. And I think that we are maybe a small change or two away with the track from making it really exciting. Like you said, taking out that chicane was a good idea. And, I know that I ranked it at B, and maybe that was a little bit of a hot take, but I'm not going to put it in D or F. It's not the worst track on the calendar. I mean, you guys were ripping Monaco, especially you, Seafreeze. You guys were ripping Monaco before, so it's not the worst track on the schedule, apparently. So I thought it was okay. It was a little boring. It was hard to stay awake when watching it, but it looks like a modern F1 track, so it's only gonna get better.
Agreed. Alright, well let's go on tomorrow when this is recorded and published. This will be on Monday morning, so if you're listening to this, tomorrow is the Silver Class, the finale. And finale all throughout this week for TCR. We are actually finishing at Belgium. All championships are locked up besides one. It is the Drivers' Championship for the Silver Class in Season 15. It's still coming down to the wire between Camden Luca and the Alfa Romeo, as well as J&B in the Haas. Do we have the points tallies?
I
We do.
find them. Oh, he's got them.
If you want to pull them up, D'Angelo, that would be good.
At Portugal, alrighty. So, should I just read out just the top 5?
Oh, I was just looking for those two. I didn't know what they were going in.
Camden is in first with 273 points. And then JNB _8 is in second with 250 points.
So 23 points difference.
Yes.
So
That is how math works.
okay, I just want to make sure I subtracted right. So in theory, J and B, is it really 23? I thought it was less. I thought it was like 19 or 18.
It is 23.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. Well, 23. Yeah. So basically, yeah. That does sound right. Okay. Yeah. J and B has to win, hands down, and then basically all depends where Camden finishes.
Camden would have. I don't know how many wins separate, like how many wins y'all each have, but Camden can. If he has more wins, he has to finish in at least 9th. If J and B wins.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of hear from you, Camden, coming into the race this week. How you're feeling? How do you think it's going to go? Yeah, you've been in the lead of the championship all round. You came in as the favorite, and you have one more race left. And you say it's also your final race in the silver class because you're definitely moving up to golden class regardless of the result. So a lot of pressure here. No pressure.
Right. Yeah, it's a big race, for those two reasons. It's my last in the silver class, regardless of whatever happens, and obviously there's a driver's championship on the line, which I've been going after for the last 4 seasons now. So, I still have to show up and I have to finish the race, and I have to finish towards the front because it seems like we're going to get more people than we've had the last month or two, just based on looking at the attendance right now and the fact that, the last race of the season tends to get a lot of people. So I think there's definitely going to be enough people showing up to where there's a battle for the points to get into the top 10, in the race. And JMB has more wins than me, but if he were to win, I would obviously give him the tiebreaker. So if I finished 8th or better, regardless of whatever JMB does, then I have it. So
yeah, you have to at least finish in 8th then.
Yeah. I mean, Belgium is tough, man. Like, if you spin out at that track, it's a miracle if you don't hit anything. There's a lot of death traps, and I'm not saying I'm nervous, but, there's a lot that can go wrong. There's several drivers who are very aggressive, and one of them has been really aggressive the last month or so, and took me out the last race, so I am a little skeptical about that, just going into the race. I just have to be cautious, and I want to finish up front too. I don't want to just mosey around and finish in 6th or whatever, because I've been focusing on the individual statistics, and there's a couple of records I want to solidify. And wins, I'm pretty sure I'm right on the cusp of being the record holder for that. So if I win the Belgian Grand Prix, I think I have that. 3rd place finishes, I think that's also in a toss-up. So it would be important to finish on the podium, So, I just got to do what I've done all season and just stay out of trouble and just be prepared. It's a tough track, like I said. It's not like Portugal, where Portugal is very wide open, and if you spin out, you're probably not going to hit anything. Yeah, no, it's a huge race, so hopefully it goes to plan and it all works out.
Well, I will say the whole season for the silver class, as I've been able to commentate, I think every race this season, fortunately. It's been a good season, very interesting season, because we kind of came into it thinking that you'd run away with it, but you've had some pretty strong competition with Carson and J&B, and I thought that was something that added a little twist into the season. And obviously Carson can't win it as he was eliminated last week. J&B is an long shot to win it. But regardless of the result, it definitely solidifies J&B and Carson into being good drivers. Hopefully they sign up for next season and we get to see a little bit more from them. by the sounds of it, J&B might be going to Golden Class regardless of the result as well next season. So, which I think he's definitely warranted to move up. And I think the rest of the Silver Class would thank him. Because he has a lot of wins, you have a lot of wins. So we'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, it's been a really good season. We'll see how it ends. But good luck to you. I know you've been in the Freeze Foundation, and we've been practicing a lot. So I'm going to try and call it unbiasedly as much as I can. But, I'll
be the judge of that.
I'll be rooting for you a little bit. Although honestly, I think I try to be I try to be unbiased and very fair to everybody throughout my commentary. If I feel or say something, I just say it on stream. But I think even if you look at some of the commentators, especially in NASCAR, they're very biased. If you look at all the guests they bring in, and even the actual commentators, they have their favorites too. So it is what it is. But one more championship to decide, and that'll conclude season 15. But all races next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:45 p.m. Eastern time. So tune in, let's have some fun, and let's finish this season on this shitty game really well. #abort F122.
I changed the hashtag to fuck F122.
Hey, you do what you want, but I like to kill it. Anywho, we have a new baby coming out. F123, fresh out of the oven. What are we expecting, or any expectations from it, from any gameplay you've seen? Are you excited about it?
Less of a piece of shit than F122. Because it's an F1 game. It's Bugmasters.
Hope so. Camden?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a big game for the future of F1 league racing. I think there's been a lot of frustrations with this past game. You've seen numbers in our races decline massively throughout the season, and our views on YouTube have declined. So this game is going to be a big deal. It's going to be the second game on crossplay, so the expectation is that they are going to figure it out. Maybe things will be a little more fine-tuned. But the cars, they seem fun to drive. Like, I haven't heard many complaints from the people that have tested the game. It seems like it's less on ice, and you can really work the car a little bit more, which is fun. I mean, I didn't mind the physics of this past game. I actually preferred this game over F121, to be honest with you, just from how the cars drove. But
we are also on controller, Camden.
And you're also winning a lot more.
Right. Yeah. Well, next season, that's probably going to change. Wheel, Golden Class, it's going to be a humbling experience. But no, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think for this one, I was really excited for the 22 release. This one, I'm not really, to be honest. It's cool to have a different game. I'll get it. I'm not gonna get the 3A early pass. I'm just gonna get it when it comes out. I'll have my same approach. I'll do a lot of 5-lappers and just kind of enjoy the game at first and kind of see, what the vibe is from the game. I want to race the two new tracks, Las Vegas and Qatar. Obviously, we have the All-Star race for season 15 on the new game, which is the first time we're doing it after the season, and at Las Vegas, as well as the Hall of Fame is getting announced then. So don't forget, if you haven't voted, vote for the Hall of Fame. It's in our Discord. Go vote. Voting closes 1 week before that, which is June. Well, the race is the All-Star race, June 22nd. Voting closes
the 15th.
Yeah, June 15th. So go get that stuff in. And I'm excited for it. It looks promising. Every year it looks promising, the games, but I'm just gonna not get my hopes up too much. But it definitely does look better. I just hope it's stable. That's my biggest gripe about this game. Yes, I'm fortunate that there is crossplay, because if there wasn't crossplay, I probably wouldn't be racing, because my PlayStation's old, and I'm on PC now. That's just the bottom line of it. So, I'm happy there is crossplay. At first it was pretty buggy. Still is kind of buggy with invites, which is the big thing. Because if you get disconnected, if you're on a different platform than the host, it's hard to get back in. So the last race for TCR in the Portugal Grand Prix, I got disconnected. I got an invite. I tried, it didn't work, and I just left. I went and got food. I watched the rest of the race whilst getting food and driving to get food. So I didn't even try to get back in, but it's frustrating that I can't get back in, because there's a better platform on iRacing that if you get disconnected on iRacing, you can easily join the lobby with no invites. You just go to the lobby, click it, and join it. And sometimes there's a password that's required. You should know it and plug it in and join it. So either have a system like that to where if you get disconnected, you can easily join back in, or just have your invites work. So if somebody sends me an invite from a different platform, it should just work, and I should be able to get in first try.
But that's too easy, Seafreeze.
Yeah, I know. I ask for too much. That's literally the only thing I want from next game, is to have the online multiplayer, to have stable connection where you can race side by side with one another. There's minimal disconnects or any desync between drivers. If you do somehow get disconnected, it's more on the personal internet of the driver rather than the EA, the servers. But if you do get disconnected, it should be easy to get back in, and it shouldn't have to happen so often. So that's my biggest thing. Although I will say the multiplayer F1 World looks interesting with the upgrades of the cars and the multiplayer ranking system. So that looks pretty cool. Red flags look pretty cool, not gonna lie, even though it's a gimmick in a game, but that's another story.
Are we implementing red flags?
That's a great question. I have no idea. I think it's silly in league
I think
racing.
it'd be interesting.
It'd be fun, but that's when I'm not gonna race.
throw it in the All-Star race.
Do it after when I retire. I'll be out. I'll be commentating and then put the red flags on. But don't do it while I'm racing.
Do it in the All-Star race. Do it.
We could. Yeah, we could.
Just
see how it plays.
The All-Star race is gonna be a test ground.
Absolutely, we could try.
Well, they do that in NASCAR, so you might as well do that in TCR.
Yeah. Final thought on the All-Star race. This is my idea for the All-Star race, and we'll end the episode here because we talked about a whole bunch of things. I think for the All-Star race, we usually do the multiplayer cars. This year there were some thoughts about doing F2 cars, but I think because it's on a new game, I think we should use the F1 cars and just have everybody pick the cars that they were assigned in Season 15 and have pretty much priority. So Platinum guys start with, they get their cars, Golden drivers get their cars, and then Silver drivers get, whatever cars they were in. So the 15 drivers who were basically full-time drivers should be getting their seats. It should kind of work out to where most drivers should get into their normal cars, and then the other 5 invites as a wildcard entrant would just get into the 5 empty remaining seats. Because I think it'd be cool to run the actual cars rather than I don't think anyone wants to run the multiplayer cars on a new game for the first race in an All-Star race. I think it'd be cool to just run the F1 cars at Las Vegas to kind of get a sense of what the game is. It'll just be relatively new onto the game, literally a week on the game. And then I think we can put the red flags on and put all the settings to test it out and just have a good race. I don't think we need to put any mandatory tire usage or anything. I think let's just have a race, keep it simple, stupid simple, simple stupid, and have a good All-Star race. So that's my idea Just keep it simple. And just do a race at Las Vegas on a new track. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, no, I guess so.
I would have to agree.
I guess we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
Any final
just
thoughts?
just real quick about the car selection thing for the All-Star race. I don't think that would be the worst idea because, like you said, I'm just thinking about the people that would get into the All-Star race, and I don't think there would be much conflict as to which cars people pick. But I think part of what makes the All-Star race great is you show everybody's individuality. It's kind of one race across all these different classes. So I think if you have the multiplayer schemes, it kind of makes the All-Star race unique. So that's just my final 2 cents on that.
Yeah, it does make it unique, although I think making that event unique already is, because it is at Las Vegas, a new track on the new game within the first week. So I think all in itself, I think that is unique enough for this situation. But yeah, I mean, if you're listening, let us know in the Discord. Do you want to run the multiplayer cars? Do you want to run F1 cars? Or something else? Let us know. We have time to figure that out. But that'll be June 22nd, so tune in for that one. But yeah, that'll be it for this episode. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to the Racing Debrief. Definitely show some support on the video and share it out for others who might enjoy it. Next week we'll have an episode on the TCR recap with all the champions, a little sum up. We'll have some guests on, so if you're interested in joining for that, let us know. Other than that, thanks Camden and D'Angelo. It was a fun episode, and
It was.
And good luck to you for the race tomorrow, or hindsight tomorrow, and for everybody for the finale of season 15. But yeah, that'll be it. So make sure to follow TCR on all socials and join the TCR Discord server, where we are the most active. And until next time, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening.